It's time for Windows Weekly. We're out here in the big room because Mark Russinovich joins Paul and Mary Jo not only to talk about his newest novels and books, but also about Windows Azure. It's all coming up next with Windows Weekly.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust. This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Windows Weekly is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com. This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley, episode 279, recorded September 20th, 2012. Party like it's Windows 95. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Go to My PC. Go to My PC connects you directly to your Office Mac or PC from any other computer or your iPad or iPhone too. Sign up for a 30-day free trial today at gotomypc.com. Use the promo code WINDOWS. And by Carbonite Online Backup. Automatic, continuous, unlimited backup for your computer files, only $59 a year. Try it free at carbonite.com and use the offer code WINDOWS to get 2 bonus months with purchase. And by Audible.com. To download the free audiobook of your choice, go to audible.com/windows. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show that covers everything you'd ever want to know from the fabulous gang up there in Redmond. In fact, we've got a Redmondite with us today. But first, let me explain why we're in this studio. Because we have three people on the show today, we had to move into a bigger studio. I was getting claustrophobic. We'll start to my left with Mary Jo Foley from ZDNet, allaboutmicrosoft.com. Great to have you, Mary Jo.
Thank you.
I like your yellow headphones. Are those attached to a Lumia 920?
They are not, but they could be if that's what I end up getting.
They're canary yellow.
They are.
I like them. Also with us, back from New Zealand, are you over the jet lag, Paul Thurrott?
No, I am not. But I'm told that will happen eventually.
Yes, I think it's worse coming back than it is going.
It's just terrible.
That's what somebody told me.
Yeah.
It's because the sun followed you, but now it's not. It's no longer in your corner. Paul is the editor-in-chief of course, the fabulous SuperSite for Windows, SuperSite.com, and his new book is out, and I'm holding it in my hot little hands. Windows 8 Secrets. Look at it. It's pre-autographed by Paul Thurrott and Rafael Rivera. And there's even marginalia by Paul and Raphael, and even underlining and all sorts of stuff. It's a beautiful book.
I love that you call it marginalia.
Isn't that what it's called?
It's a new paramecium type of thing or something.
The book is fully infected with marginalia everywhere.
We're going to have to destroy this copy. It's got marginalia all
I think there's a salve we can apply. But Windows 8 Secrets, and you know what? You beat the operating system, so that's good. You got out first. Rarely, by the way, the Secret Series reveals rarely revealed tips and techniques. Rarely are these revealed.
Rarely.
They didn't want to just say never before revealed. They want rarely revealed. Really? Exceptional.
I can actually explain that if you'd like an explanation of that.
Yeah, why rarely revealed?
Well, because I was telling the publisher that there's no such thing as a secret
Unrevealed.
that waits for the book anymore.
Right.
I mean, it's not the world we live in. So.
Right. No, and it's good. Exceptional advice, it says in the margin notes. You don't say the word.
I can explain that one, too. So
we need marginalia on the back cover, I think.
They like adjectives, Leo.
Adjectives, I don't understand. Unbeatable advice. I'd agree with that. So that's great. This is out and now available. Do what you never thought possible. And this is for intermediate to advanced level users, $40 in the U.S. of A. You can get it on Amazon right now. Paul, would you introduce your guest?
I would. Should I?
Yes.
So Mark Russinovich is a technical fellow for Microsoft who works on the Windows Azure team. He's also, I don't want to get weird on him, but he's one of the smartest guys I've ever met and a great guy. And he is the author of the Windows Internals books, but more recently has written a couple of novels now, which involve, I'm not sure what's the type of book that these are. Are they cyber thrillers? Is that the right way to say it, Mark?
But they're modern day. Welcome, Mark Russinovich. It's great to have you.
Yeah, great to be on.
Again, he was on. He was on yesterday with Security Now, because you know who else is a big fan is Steve Gibson. He loves Mark's books, as do I. But, Steve and I discovered Mark back when he was at Sysinternals.com. Then Microsoft acquired Sysinternals, and you kept them alive. And I forgot to ask you, are you going to update them for Windows 8, Mark?
Actually, most of them have been updated already for Windows 8.
Awesome.
I think, I don't know if, well, actually, there's one. Desktops is the only tool that I currently know of an outstanding issue with Windows 8, and that's because on the secondary desktops, the Windows 8 UX, or whatever we're going to call it, is available only on the primary desktop. So pressing the window key and expecting to see that, you're not going to see it yet. I've got to fix that.
Is that hard to do?
I've figured out a way that I think I can make it work, but it requires switching back to the primary desktop, which might not be the desired effect. So I've got to implement it and then play with it a little bit and see if it'll do for most people's use.
I don't know where he gets time to do all this, Paul. He's writing novels. He's writing his new Internals book is coming out any day now too.
Right. The second part of the latest edition of Windows Internals. Yep.
People waiting with bated breath to see how it ends.
I can't wait. Like the novels, it's kind of like a sequel.
Part 2. So go ahead, Paul. I'll leave you the floor. I know Mary Jane wants to talk with Mark about Azure, but I think we'll let Paul start with the book. How about that?
I will. Okay. Well, I mean, maybe we should have Mark describe the books, but the short version is just that they are a set of novels that deals with a security expert who uncovers a plot. In the first one about Al-Qaeda coming after the United States electronically, and then the second one, it's China. And, the books are incredibly topical. They're well written and well kind of plotted out and everything. And I think the hard-hitting reporter question I have to ask you, Mark, and I ask this as a friend. You are Jeff Aiken, right?
Yeah, I think for the most part, yeah. Whether I consciously realized that or not as I was writing him, yes.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, maybe you should describe the books better than I just did because I kind of blew through it. But
well, that was a good high-level overview. I think the first one is about cyber terrorism. It's people using malware as a weapon, kind of indiscriminately to carry out an attack.
But that could never happen.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people
read the book, Leo.
Yeah,
because that's actually why it's cool. It's so amazingly plausible.
Like some government would create a malware and try to bring down an enemy government. Like that would ever. Oh, wait a minute.
Right.
Did you know about Flame before all of us knew about Flame? Mark, come on, admit it.
No, I didn't actually. But I knew about Stuxnet before the general public knew about Stuxnet.
Oh, you did? Oh, interesting.
Yeah, actually, I didn't know it was Stuxnet, but somebody in Iran emailed me with a copy of one of the files, the signed drivers, the ones signed using the stolen certificates, complaining that they worked at a software company in Iran, and it wasn't fair that Iranians can't get certs from the primary certificate authorities because of sanctions against Iran, and yet we were letting malware get signed with these certs.
How dare you?
Yeah.
And of course, that was a very sneaky little ploy that the authors had used. Kind of, we talked about this. Was it Windows Server was doing it, self-signed?
The Flame trick they used? Yeah, that was pretty devious. That's pretty sophisticated. The Stuxnet one was a little less sophisticated. It required somebody stealing certs from Micron and Realtek, and then signing the malware with those certs.
Oh, interesting.
Micron and Realtek being two Windows OEMs that happen to be headquartered in an office park across from each other in Taiwan. So it looks potentially like it was physical access to those whatever servers to get them, or it's just coincidental that they happen to be so close to each other.
Did you get a little chill because you had written this already, right?
Zero Day I had written a long time ago. Trojan Horse I'd already had in flight when Stuxnet was revealed. In fact, I'd started on Trojan Horse in 2009, and it involved Iran and cyber technology. It was going off in a slightly different direction, and I refocused it when Stuxnet came out to align with what was happening. But I'd already had cyber, the Chinese, the Iranians, us, and Israelis involved with in the plot design when Stuxnet came out.
Pretty impressive.
One of the things that's amazing about the books, and kind of difficult too, is that it's hard to know where the fact stops and then the fiction begins, right? So, for example, you were talking about Stuxnet. In the most recent book, there's this notion that the government has various levels of Stuxnet, and that Stuxnet was like the third or fourth in a series, and that this thing was ongoing. And so in that particular case, is that something that you invented for the book, or is that actually...
Yeah, I invented it for the book. So when Stuxnet came out, I said, okay, I need to incorporate this into the book to make it reflect reality. But I figured by the time the book came out, there'd probably be more variants uncovered. I figured at least one more. So I said, okay, so let's have the version in the book be Stuxnet 3, and that's what I put in there. And Dooku came out, and some people viewed that as a Stuxnet 2, and then Flame came out. Slightly different aims than what Stuxnet had. So I don't know if I really consider those Stuxnet 1, 2, and 3, but at least I accommodated the discovery of an additional flavor of Stuxnet that you can map onto one of those if you'd like.
Sure. I mean, Leo, it's too bad these books are not on Audible, and I'd like to volunteer my services to make that happen, by the way.
Yeah.
They're going to be on Audible,
they are.
actually.
Oh, great.
Yeah, in fact, Kevin Mitnick, who wrote the foreword for Trojan Horse, I went to a studio about 2 weeks ago and recorded a 40-minute chat with him about cybersecurity. That's going to be one of the bonus feature on the Trojan Horse.
Fantastic. Good.
Through Audible. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're nice, fast-moving thrillers, but I think the really neat part, I think the thing that really sells it is this the realism that's in them. The Russian hacker who is using parts of other code and putting things together and assembling them. I actually know nothing about this world, but it's sort of like a Michael Crichton book where you read this and you think, yes, it very clearly is exactly like this. Even though I don't really know that.
And that was one of my goals, was to make the book authentic and to let people that aren't in the profession get a view of what the profession looks like and a view of what cybersecurity is all about, the cyber threats that we're under.
Right. So what's next? Tell me there's another one coming.
Yeah, actually there is. Actually, I've already got a tentative title. It's called Rogue Code. And
nice.
I view each book as having a certain cybersecurity theme. The first one, the theme was terrorists using kind of indiscriminate malware, modeled after the internet worms that we saw in the early 2000s. The second book, Trojan Horse, is the theme of that is cyber espionage, state-sponsored cyber espionage, and the spear phishing technique that is often used in that kind of espionage. And the third book is going to be financially motivated cyber crime, cyber malware, and is going to involve insider threats as well. So insider threats, social engineering, and financially motivated is the theme of the third, Rogue Code. Should be out I'm expecting it'll probably be published in 2014, spring.
I don't know. Where you
Why
find
so
the
long?
time? Yeah, really. Who's reading the audiobook? Do you know?
No, I don't know, actually.
Yeah. They have good people for that kind of stuff. There's some names that Paul and I would go, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Do you have a time frame? If you've recorded the intro, they must be soon.
Yeah, they said they wanted to get it within a few weeks of the release of Trojan Horse, so
That's great.
I was going to ping them today to see what their status was. Probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Well, I can promise you it'll be a pick for us on our Audible ad.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
In fact, don't mention any more because I have to do an Audible ad later, and I won't be able to say, get this. And we'll can we defer the Audible ad till it comes out? Let's do that. All right.
Right.
It's one reason you want an Audible account, though. That's for sure. That's great. Anything else, Paul, or should I throw it to Mary Jo for the Azure?
I have one non-book related question, and you'll know a lot more than I do about this. But I have a story in the back of my head about you that I've been meaning to ask you about, which was that there was a time period, wasn't there, where you publicly, I think, went and tried to help the Linux community fix some issues that you saw with the kernel of Linux or just with Linux in general, and that they did not react very well to this. This is how I recall it.
Yeah, I wasn't intentionally trying to help them. I was trying to highlight some places where Linux wasn't really enterprise-grade scalability perf-wise, and that Windows was ahead of it. And so I made a talk comparing Linux kernel and the Windows kernel and highlighted some of those areas, and then got into dialogues with Alan Cox, who at the time was maintaining the Linux kernel tree, and Ingo Molnar, who still is very active on the Linux scheduler and basically rewrote it from scratch. and then even Linus had some exchanges with Linus himself. But the funny thing about that, it was very much a, no, that's not really a problem initial reaction, followed by kernel check-ins within seveve weeks that addressed the issue.
Oh, how interesting.
Which I thought was...
okay.
It's not a problem,
great.
but, you know, let's fix it just in case.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, just to give Leo, if you're not aware, I mean, Mark, reverse engineering is maybe the wrong word, but, you know, Mark had been writing the Windows internal books externally to Microsoft without access to the source code.
Right.
And, you know, you could make the argument that outside of Microsoft, he was, and even really mostly inside of Microsoft, knew more about this than anyone on Earth. And of course, now that Mark and I had this conversation some time ago, you know, now that he's Microsoft and has had a chance to see the source code, right? You know, you have a slightly different perspective on it, perhaps. But you would think that they would.
It's even more awesome than I imagined.
Yeah.
It's okay. Ballmer's not listening. It's okay.
Yeah. It's all managed code. Who knew? But
how did you do that, Mark? Did you decompile? How do you?
I used two techniques: the static technique, which is decompiling or disassembling. So taking the kernel binaries, running them through a disassembler, and then leveraging information that Microsoft makes available, is made available for
things like
15
symbol
years.
tables and things
the
like
symbol tables, exactly. The public symbols. So global variables, global function names, all in the public symbols. And that is a lot of clues as to, you know, you look at a function and just by the name you get some idea of what it's doing. And
if you can get full symbol tables with a disassembly, you can usually get code that is readable. Yeah.
And in fact, there was a mistake in the PDC of 1996 or 7 where they were giving out NT4, I think it must have been 96, NT4 beta or release candidate. And on the CD, they accidentally put the private symbols, which was the private symbols includes the local variables and the type definitions as well. So you can disassemble that basically back to very close to source code looking. And so that was a huge boost.
So they published the public symbols, the global symbols, but not the local variable names or things like that. And why do they publish that?
For people troubleshooting. So if you have a crash of an app or a crash of the operating system itself,
at least know the name of the function that failed or whatever. Right. Yeah. How interesting. What if that's actually a fun thing to do? It's like a detective game.
Yeah, it was.
Someone should write a book about this.
Yeah. I had fun time with Dave Solomon, when we wrote the 3rd edition. I didn't have source code access. He did have a source code access, and we'd sometimes race. We'd be discussing a certain chapter and topic, and we'd have questions that we'd say, "Well, does it work this way, or does that work that way? What happens underneath?" And then we'd race. He'd go to the source. I'd go to my disassembler to answer the question, and half the time I'd get the answer first. There's some shortcuts that when you're looking at a full disassembly that makes it really easy to jump to right where you want to look and then figure out what's going on. And he's going into the source code, having to dig around through all these files and follow function call references between the different files. And so it gave me some advantages in some cases of getting the answer faster than he did.
Mark also does a very popular tech ed session called The Case of the Unexplained. And what I have never been to tech ed, but what I'm thrilled is that you actually record the webcasts of these sessions, so you can go and this is how to troubleshoot really tough problems. Very valuable. I think people who watch this show would find this really valuable.
Yeah, those are really fun sessions, and I've made it basically. I think it's become a tech ed tradition that I give the Case of the Unexplained at the closing afternoon, kind of as a capper for the week, and it's kind of general interest. It's almost always the highest attended talk of the entire conference. I get 1,000, 1,500 people in it, and go through cases. People love seeing the war stories and seeing how other people figure them out.
Really fun stuff. It's actually really it's almost a game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't know you were working on Azure, but obviously Mary Jo Foley knew that.
I did, and in fact, I was looking back on articles I wrote, and I found one I wrote in 2010 when Mark first went to the Azure team, and I remember when I wrote this post, and I said, "Guess who's on Azure now?" And people thought I was crazy. They're like, "No, he's not on Azure.
He's too good
he works
for
on
Azure."
Windows.
Yeah.
So you know, it's funny though. I was thinking just this week, I don't even know what you really do on Azure. Like, what's your job on Azure? What do you do? Like, feature-wise and
My job is I'm very self-directed, but some of the areas that I focus on, one is the application model, the platform as a service application model we've defined for Azure applications, working on identity for Azure applications as well. But then so these are kind of broad, high-level efforts where I'm serving as architect for that. The infrastructure as a service, I was the head architect for that feature set that came out this summer. But I also delve down into minutia, you could think of, like resource allocation in the data center is one of my passions. So I look at that. Performance optimizations is an area that I focus on. Security, of course, I'm heavily involved with security of Windows Azure infrastructure and things that we can do to beef up security there. So it's up and down the stack. I stay more closely associated with the compute side of the platform, which is what the infrastructure that hosts virtual machines and the code running in those virtual machines.
Okay. I'm curious what you guys are finding from customers so far now that you're starting to roll out the infrastructure as a service piece, especially the VMs. And
yeah.
Are people really hosting Linux there? Are they hosting Windows Server? What are they doing with it that you guys are noticing?
Well, first of all, we're seeing a tremendous uptake of these virtual machines. It's actually exceeded our expectations, the number of people that are using them. And as far as the mix of Windows and Linux, it pretty much mirrors what the public mix of deployments are. We see the percentages line up almost exactly with what you look at and see statistics for use of Linux and Windows in the enterprise, which I guess is not too surprising, but it's interesting that you see that validated even in the way people are using the OSs on a Microsoft platform in the cloud.
Yeah, definitely. The other thing that I've been hearing from you guys a lot, like in the past couple of weeks, is a lot more emphasis on getting developers excited about the platform. Things that you guys are doing with the websites, hosted website stuff. And I found out this week too, Jason Zander now is on Azure too, who used to head up Visual Studio at Microsoft, and now he's moved over to the Azure team. So could you talk a little bit about like what at the highest level you're trying to do to get more developers interested in the platform?
Well, so the websites, so one of the things we recognize is that there's a spectrum of developers that are looking at cloud technologies, and a spectrum of different types of applications people will want to run on the cloud, from things like very simple applications that run in a website and maybe have a SQL database, developers that are ISVs just getting started and want to write an application that they can host in a cloud. So that's really what the websites, the codename Antares, as you pointed out in one of your blog posts, is all about. And then we also want to make our paths richer. And so there are platform as a service that's associated with the virtual machine, the code that runs in virtual machines, a lot more rich as well. Today we've got a kind of simplistic form of paths, which is, it's got benefits because it's the framework is so thin that it's compatible with tremendous amounts of different types of codes and runtime. Gives you the benefits of the scale-out, highly available application model that we want to promote. But at the same time, the framework could provide a lot more value and a lot more functionality that we want to add. Just one example, I mentioned identity, but one of the things we want to do is make it possible for applications to have their own intrinsic identity for service-to-service authentication. Today, if you want your application to talk to Windows Azure Storage, you need to stick in a key in the application that is the password essentially for the storage account. We like it so that when you deploy the application, if the application has a storage resource, that it would just automatically be able to access the storage resource using identity managed and credentials managed by the platform itself, and so you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. So that's just one small example of how we are wanting to make it more rich.
So you also are helping with we call it WAD around here, Windows Azure Active Directory part of things.
Yep. So working closely with people there, and it's part of the same org now as part of this reorganization that you talked about.
Yeah. So my question there is more, it seems like that's a pretty ambitious effort, and not only to get people who are using Azure from Microsoft, but also third-party software developers too involved. I mean, what more are you guys going to do there? Again, at a high level, not giving things away too much.
Yeah, well, I think you can like you probably already suspect from what the moves that you've seen, this Windows Azure Active Directory is the directory service for Office 365 and allows enterprises to have single sign-on with Office 365. We've got single sign-on now through to the Windows Azure portal through that same experience through using the Windows Azure Active Directory and synced enterprise identities up into the cloud. But we're going to take that a lot further so that the identities that I talked about applications having, they'll be served by the directory as well. They'll be served from enterprise directories, and you can apply corporate policies and role memberships to not just users but also applications. And then every Azure subscription will also have what we call a directory realm, its own part of the directory where you can put your own objects, users, and role-based access control policies as well. So it's going to be, you're going to see just over the next, already ongoing, but over the next few years, you're going to see a very tight integration between the Windows Azure Active Directory service and Windows Azure applications and service management and the UX as well.
Interesting. One of my readers and listeners is very interested in Service Bus. And I wonder if you could kind of talk at a higher level for everybody listening. What is Service Bus, and what do you guys, where are you going with that, and why should people care about that?
Well, Service Bus is it's basically enterprise messaging service up in the cloud, highly available, highly scalable cloud service, platform as a service middleware that allows two components, whether they're inside of the cloud or communicating outside the cloud, to talk to each other asynchronously and to send notifications to each other asynchronously, and also to do pub-sub type scenarios where I can have an application that is sending something into to Service Bus and then have a whole bunch of listeners that are looking for it. So Twitter type of scenarios as well. So you're just going to see that stuff, those features get richer and richer, because that's where we're putting all our investments in building an enterprise messaging service as middleware for the cloud. That's where it's going to go, and you're starting to see those feature sets grow and expand, like this pub-sub, this relay service features just came out over the last 6 months.
Any hints about build? I got to ask you that.
Any hints about build? Which
like what are we going to hear? What are we going to hear about Azure at build at a high level? Any little hints for us there?
I think you're just going to at build. Build, of course, is a big Windows event, and so we want to support Windows. So you're going to see a lot of talk about integrating Windows 8 applications with Azure, but you're also going to see the Azure spin at build, as opposed to the Azure spin you saw at TechEd, is going to be very developer focused. So I'll be there talking about Windows Azure virtual machines, but it'll be more focused at ISVs and what ISVs want to do with virtual machines versus the enterprise focus that kind of had the site stamp. So it's going to be a lot of the same material you saw at TechEd, but very dev focused, and even devs that are not Microsoft, in the Microsoft camp, focused as well, because we know lots of ISVs out there like Linux and open source software. So we'll also have a lot of coverage of that as well.
Well, I
That's
guess
all my grilling.
I guess we're going to let Mark go, but it's really great to see you once again, to talk to you, and thanks for the great books. And I mean all the great books, not just the novels.
Thanks for having me on the show. And speaking of one last book, Sysinternals Administrative Reference, I have to mention that one. Came out last year with the co-author Aaron Margosis. Covers all the tools in depth, as you would expect, the official reference of those tools, given that I'm the co-author. Sysinternals Administrators Reference. It's on Amazon.
You can buy it, and they also have a Kindle version of it if you want that. And is
Still no Audible version, though.
No Audible.
Yeah.
No Audible.
Would you like to read that, Paul?
I might.
Yeah.
And then I can just imagine, Mark. And thanks to Lou. What's his last name? Alex
Maresca.
Maresca. Thank you, Lou Maresca, for bringing a microphone over.
Yeah, he came.
It was nice.
Campus.
Yeah, he came all the way over. It set you up with his PR40, and it sounds great.
Yeah, great.
And I appreciate your patience with our Skype woes. Next time we'll use Link.
Sure.
Wait a minute. Skype's a Microsoft product.
Yeah,
actually, I'm a little nervous because they said they're going to metroize it. Now I'm a little nervous. What do you
that's a good thing.
when you guys are at the cafeteria, you're hanging out, and you want to say Metro? You go, What do you say instead?
The interface that formerly was known as Metro.
Okay, it's as bad in the campus as it is outside. Okay,
If you say Metro by mistake, do you have to put $1 in a jar?
Really, really, really great to see you again, Mark. Thank you so much for joining us.
Great.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. Mark
Thanks, Ranger.
Russinovich.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Leo.
We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. I do want to talk about the IE zero-day exploit and, wow, the fix. Also, new phones from HTC, and I think I'm getting the sense Paul and Mary Jo like it a lot. Windows Weekly, we're doing it out in the big rooms because we had the extra people on Skype, and so that's why it looks a little bit different. See this shirt? Lou Maresca got this for Alex Gumpel, and Alex is letting me wear it. I visited Microsoft, and all I got was this T-shirt. Actually, it's not true. Not true. I've got a truckload of Surface tablets out in the back, just waiting. We're going to sell them out. We're going to do a pop-up store in the TWiT Brick House. This show brought to you by Go to My PC. I wish we could, actually. Microsoft, if you want to have a Northern California pop-up store, we could do one right here. Brought to you by Go to My PC. The folks at Citrix, if I say the word Citrix, you and everybody else know that's the name in remote access. They've been doing it longer than anybody. They license their technology to Microsoft. But Go to My PC, it leverages their many years of expertise to make something that's really easy to install, really easy to use. It uses NAT traversal, so you don't have to punch holes in the firewall. It makes it more secure. You don't need the IT department. It's very simple. SSL, so it's 100% secure. In fact, it's a great way to access your Mac or PC at work from anywhere, even an insecure spot, like a hotel network. Have you ever browsed a hotel network? You can see everybody else's computer. Well, we're using Go to My PC. It's like a VPN. You're securely connected to your office computer. Safe surfing. You can run any program, access any network resource, send and receive email 100% securely. It's so great. Now, the deal is before you head out on the road to travel or vacation or just to go home early tomorrow, wouldn't you like to take tomorrow off? Visit the website on your office computer. Go to mypc.com. Click that orange Try It Free button and use the promo code Windows, and you could put this on your PC or Mac at work. Now it's on your PC or Mac at work. Oh. And then Microsoft Jelly Beans. Ooh.
Not to be confused with Google Jelly Bean.
No, very different.
Very different.
But although these are touch jelly beans, and if I touch them all, I guess I get to keep them. Ad read. Sorry, thank you. Where was I? Go to my PC. Now, once you've set it up on your Mac or PC at work, head out. You can use an iPhone or an iPad and access your office computer and do everything you could do at work. It's really cool to access a Windows machine from an iPhone. It's just an experience one must have. The apps are free, and so is Go to My PC for the next 30 days. Just use the offer code WINDOWS when you visit gotomypc.com and click the Try It Free button. Really the easiest, simplest, most secure way to do remote access. You got to try it. gotomypc.com. So, zero-day vulnerability in Internet Explorer. We talked about it yesterday on Security Now, and at that time, the only fix was just don't use IE, and it was everything up to IE 9.
Well, there were actually workarounds, including an application you can download. No, there were
even then
right away.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah. So what is it? It's the name of it is the Prevent Memory Corruption via Exec Command in Internet Explorer Fix. So the exec command causes...
doesn't this sound like a modern version of like a buffer overrun kind of thing? Basically?
Yeah.
No, seriously, doesn't
That's exactly
it?
what it is. Memory corruption. It's exactly what it is.
Yeah, and I find it not coincidental that the fix that Microsoft's going to release via Windows Update tomorrow is going to include fixes for 4 other critical security vulnerabilities in IE that it will lead to remote code execution. Like these things have to be related to this.
Yeah.
And that when they went and found the fix for this, while they were mucking around in there, they found other stuff that was related.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. So right now, there is a Fix It For Me button, those registry hack buttons. But there's going to be, you said there'll be a patch coming out tomorrow.
Yeah, so if you have automatic updates, it will occur automatically for you.
Out of cycle.
Yeah.
Awesome.
They don't do that a lot.
No, I gather this was considered fairly serious.
Well, I mean, somebody found this, I think, Friday or Saturday. Microsoft reported it on Tuesday, provided some workaround. Microsoft on Thursday provided, or maybe even was last night, I'm not sure, provided a fix, a manual download fix. And tomorrow we'll patch it out of band through Windows Update automatically, which will impact hundreds of millions of people.
Wow.
That's a really quick turnaround.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking this is pretty serious.
Either that or it was an easy fix.
No, even, they don't move this quick unless they need to.
Right. Well, when you see the word 0 day, that means people are in the wild exploiting it. So that does make it fairly serious.
And actually, I think even though they claim that not many people have been affected by this, I think the impact rate of exploits must have been going up,
right.
Which I think also would trigger a quicker response.
You bet. Let's talk about the phones. Let's talk about the phones. So I was asking before the show, I was posing a question. I was just saying, I've got an account with AT&T and Verizon. It looks like AT&T is going to get the Lumia 820, or 920, I should say, the new Windows Phone 8. It looks like a great phone. I really want it. And Paul said, not so fast.
Well, let's see. People on Twitter think that I've been subsumed somehow by HTC. So let's have Mary Jo explain.
It's not just you.
Let's have Mary Jo explain why I'm right, Leo. No.
Okay,
Let's have Mary Jo. That's not what
So did you? Was the event in New York? Did you go to the event?
Yeah.
Okay.
We were both there yesterday.
Okay.
And so
did they let you hold the phone?
Yes, they did. They let us hold the phone. They didn't let us scroll on the phone, but we could actually hold it in our hand at least, and I get to listen to music on it. So you get to do a couple things. By the way,
they're upfront. Microsoft hasn't announced all the features of Windows Phone 8, so they don't want you to go in and click on stuff.
It's Microsoft, right.
Right, but so they showed off both phones, and they had a lot of models available for people to check out and try. You just couldn't scroll on them or use them, really. Right. But you still get a really good feel for what the phone felt like in your hand, which was really nice. And I have to say, when we went in, I said to Paul, I'm just expecting this to be like a ho-hum thing, like Trophy 2 revisited or whatever. And
plus Android really stuff, too. I thought it was going to be...
You thought Android.
Here's 5 new Android phones and this little throwaway thing we're going to do for Windows Phone in the corner. And I thought that was going to be the event.
Well, that's reasonable. HTC made the first Android phone, the G1 for Google. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like they're doubling down on Windows Phone 8. Like they've made a serious commitment to Windows Phone. This is their platform. And we should point out, by the way, that HTC is struggling. That they are a distant third behind Samsung and Apple.
Although they did say yesterday in their presentation that they have sold more Windows phones than anyone. I mean, there aren't that many Windows phones, but still.
Well, I wonder what they mean by that. Are they referring to Windows Mobile devices from 1993 or something? I mean,
they said Windows Phone, so I don't know.
Yeah, I was curious about that.
But so they make the HTC Trophy,
right? Yep. That's the only Windows Phone on Verizon,
and that's on Verizon. Okay, and it's kind of mediocre.
They had made a slide out. I don't remember the name of it, but it was a slide out phone with a physical keyboard.
Oh yeah,
for AT&T.
That's right.
Tilt maybe.
Yeah, I think it was a Tilt. Yeah.
But that didn't sell particularly well, nor was it a particularly good device. And so, going into this, there were no high expectations. This was like due diligence. It's close to home. We can do this. Windows Phone we like, so let's see what happens.
So here's the specs. It's called the 8X, 4.3-inch screen.
So by the way, not humongous, right?
But not tiny.
No, but if you compare this to, the Lumia 720 or the Samsung ATIV S or whatever they're calling that.
This is like a leave.
Okay. I'm never going to say that right. So,
it's a teeve, like a leave.
That's a stupid name no matter how you pronounce it. I'll just say that. It's not as humongous, right? It's obviously big. I think that's the trend today in smartphones, bigger screens. But it's not
big enough.
It's not stupid big. It's not like Note big.
Right. Well, it's interesting because I've been playing with the Motorola Razr Max, the new Max. Mm-hmm. And it's really small. I mean, its whole thing is, we get 4 days battery, which they do so far. The thing has not died in 3 days.
That's great.
It's amazing. But it's a small screen. And I think what is happening is you're going to just see there's a market for people who want women who want to stick it in their purse or guys who don't want a big phone. There's a market for that. So
I just want to be sure. I just want to be clear on what you just said because I've been ridiculed for this. You're saying that if it's okay for you to say that a woman or maybe even a child would prefer a smaller screen phone.
I'll tell you why that's not a sexist thing to say. They have smaller hands.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was saying, too.
Hey, and I don't know. My hand looks pretty big, guys.
Well, you got man hands, Mary Jo, but that doesn't mean No, I'm just kidding. But I mean,
she has manly mitts. Let's just say, look at those hands.
Look at the size of those hands.
It's like that picture's skewed in some way.
I'm just teasing. No, I'm not saying that it's for women or children, or even it could be for small men. Tom Cruise it could be.
Yes. Thank you. Yes.
But I'm saying that there's a market for all sizes, and that's what you really do want to see.
Like a specialty store for little shoes, or
the small and tiny man store for phones. Exactly.
And you know what's funny? Because Paul and I talked about this yesterday. He's like, "Don't you like it because it has a smaller screen than some of the others?" And I'm like, "I actually like phones with gigantic screens."
I like the Note 2. I can't wait to get it.
But this really, I didn't get to hold the Nokia 920.
Right.
They just could put it in my hand when I was at the launch there. So I don't have a good feel for what that feels like in my hand. But this really felt like...
I have a Nokia 900. That's what it feels like. They're the same.
It's the same size. It's 4.5 inches.
Same body. Same material.
It's 4.5?
Yeah, material.
4.8? So this is going to be 4.3 inches. It's Super LCD 2. I don't know what that is. With Gorilla Glass 2, 720p. So that means it'll probably be what? Does that mean it's 1200 by 720? I don't know. 1280 by 720?
1280 by
1280 by 720. Yep. 1.5 gigahertz dual-core Qualcomm CPU, a gig of RAM, 16 gigs of storage, no SD card.
Right. That seems to be a thing with unibody design.
Yeah. You get a more compact design, but you can't take out the battery and you can't put in an SD card.
Well, but here's the thing, and this is this has been the burning problem with all of these devices, and I think that this is we didn't really give her a chance to describe what she really thought of this thing, but I was hoping that Mary Jo would sort of walk into this territory, which is simply that, the Nokia device is nice to look at, but it's a humongous, heavy, thick device, and it's a unibody design. This thing is it's wafer thin, beautiful, feels awesome in your hand, and it's a unibody design. So why can HTC make something that is this small and beautiful, and the Nokia device is like a brick? Not only is it a brick, but it's a brick that copies the design of its previous phones, the 900 and then the N9 before it. It's like the company that has gone all in on Windows Phone is just doing the same thing over and over again.
Well, and another thing that I found interesting, because the one feature that's kind of compelling to me on the Lumia is the camera. But it looks like it's got an 8-megapixel camera. It might have a better camera. I don't know. Did they show you images?
Yeah, they look good, but because they always do those things. So this is something we're going to have to test.
Yeah, of course. That's a given. All of this is pending using.
But, I think when people look at this phone side by side, you're going to see, the top end phones, right? So the 8X versus the 920 versus the Samsung, whatever it's called as. They're going to share some things that are going to be very similar, but, I think that I know that only the HTC is an all-new design. It isn't based on something else.
Right.
The Samsung phone is a Galaxy S3 with Windows Phone running it. The Lumia devices are just evolved versions of what they had before. And then this thing is all new, and it's beautiful. And we can talk specs. People are saying, I need 32 gig. I don't want, 16 isn't enough. Or, it doesn't have wireless charging because that's suddenly like the standard that we all have to have. We've never been able to live without wireless charging. Or whatever it is. And, it's nice to have choice, of course. But I honestly think that most people going into a store and seeing these three things side by side, or more important, seeing this thing side by side with an iPhone 5 and a Galaxy S3, I think a lot of people are going to gravitate toward the HTC because it's so beautiful.
Let's, I don't know, did you not pay your bandwidth bill when you were in New Zealand? You're really degrading.
Am I degrading to women or degrading?
Well, yeah, both.
I feel like I am too, am I?
Yeah, maybe it's us. Good thing to do while we're waiting to get this back. And, of course, what I'd like to talk about is disaster preparation. We know a lot about disasters here at the Brick House. I'll tell you what I use. And this is when my daughter went to college, this was a really great solution for me. It's Carbonite.com. You put it on, it's great for a laptop because basically it's everything. You know, a laptop, you're moving around, laptops get lost like crazy. I think it was several 100,000 laptops a year get left at the airport. Just the airport alone. So you got to have a good backup solution. And because the laptop's moving around, it's probably not an external drive. You don't want to carry that around with you. What you want is online backup that's automatic, continuous. Whenever you're online, that's what you got with Carbonite. It was originally designed for students. It was actually, the story, of course, is the CEO, David Friend's daughter, was in college, called him up. He's a brilliant technologist, invented the ARP synthesizer. Had sold the company and was I think he was just kind of retired. And his daughter called him up and said, "Daddy, I lost my term paper. Help me." And he had no fix. And he said, "You know what? There's got to be a better way." So he created Carbonite Backup. Really a great solution. Now they've expanded. Of course, they have, home versions, business versions. They've got small office, big office. Here's what you do. Go to Carbonite.com, Mac or PC. $59 per computer for everything on your hard drive. That's a year. You might say, that seems like for a month. No, a year. Less than $5 a month. And it's everything on your hard drive, all your personal stuff. So here's what you do. Go to Carbonite.com, try it free for 2 weeks. You don't need a credit card or anything. Just use our offer code, Windows, and you can try it. Thank you, chat room. Well, can we back this show up? Carbonite.com. This is what I'm telling you. Disaster strikes. You think, oh, I'm good. Everything's fine. And then, boom, Skype doesn't work. Your hard drive crashes. You got the wrong graphic. Carbonite is the way you plan for the worst. As long as you've got a good backup, you can really sleep at night. Carbonite.com. Use the offer code Windows, Mac, or PC. 2 weeks free. If you decide to buy, 2 months free. 14 months for the price of 12. Carbonite. All right, so back again with Mary Jo Foley, Paul Thurrott. Now he disappears. No, he's good.
What happened?
Nothing. He just went dark. That happens sometimes.
He went anamorphic, which means there's good bandwidth.
He went anamorphic. That's why he went blank, so he went widescreen.
Yes.
So we're just going to wait. Any minute now, Mary Jo will go anamorphic.
She wasn't anamorphic earlier.
She's never been anamorphic.
She has like a K-Pro camera or something. It's not...
You look just fine, Mary Jo. And by the way, I apologize. Apparently I called you Mary Jane earlier. And I apologize for that.
You're not the only one.
That must happen once in a while. It's just
once or twice daily.
I'm an old man, and pretty soon you're going to come on the show and say, and you would be... and what am I...
And then they'll say, we should have you on more often.
Yeah. Mary Jo, you're good. We should have you on regularly, Mary Jane. So we're talking about the new HTC 8X. AT&T only, is that right?
No. Verizon and T-Mobile.
See, because we get Verizon LTE here, and I am so wowed by LTE. And AT&T LTE, which I hear is even better, but it's not in our area. The other thing that I thought...
I get AT&T LTE everywhere I go.
And is it better?
I mean, it's amazing. It's why I switched to a tethering plan.
Because it's better than your home network.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Of course, I noticed as soon as you say you're going to do that, they turn off the unlimited downloads, right?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. In fact, I now use this line a lot, but the woman from AT&T who switched over my account asked me at least half a dozen times, "You sure you want to do this? Because, your grandfathered in. We're never going to get rid of the unlimited data." Yeah. And are you sure you want to do this? Yeah.
Wow.
She's like, "I feel like I'm killing a unicorn."
She said that?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. No, she was
a
great.
little humanity on the AT&T wireless, folks.
Yep.
So the other thing the HTC guy talked a lot about, I was surprised, is not the back camera, the front-facing camera.
Yeah, you don't hear a lot about that.
It's 2 megapixels, which is better than most. Most of them are VGA or maybe 1.2. An f2 aperture, that's faster than this is actually faster than the camera on the iPhone 5 and then the back camera, and 88-degree wide angle view. They didn't say what the millimeter equivalent of that is, but 88 degrees is
it's meant to it's not just you and the guy next to you, it's
the room.
Widescreen, yeah.
Yeah, didn't they say 4 people in a frame or something like that?
There it is.
Ben Rudolph all by himself.
Rudolph.
But I don't know why you would want this, to be perfectly frank.
Why you would want Ben Rudolph? Well,
I like
he's a good spokesman, Leo.
No, I just don't understand. Wouldn't you want a narrower? I mean, if you're on Skype or
But I think that's why they're doing it. So when you can bring in friends.
I guess so.
If you were actually social, this is not something I would ever do.
Right. There's the disconnect. It is not for taking pictures. It is for it's the front-facing camera, so it's for video conferencing.
Right.
It's interesting.
Yep.
And it comes in 4 vibrant colors. This seems
With
to
a
be
hint of more to come.
This seems to be the trend. California blue, limelight yellow, charcoal black, and fire red. I like the blue. Guess because I'm in California.
Did you see the two-tone ones on the 8S? They have these like you can have a black and white phone or a gray and yellow phone. That's kind of cool.
What is 8S? Is that
that's the
8S
lower end.
is the smaller.
It's actually it's funny because I like the look of this one better.
Ooh, it's thinner looking.
But it's very low end. It has the same resolution as today's Windows phones, 800 by 480. It's got I think it only has 4 gigs of storage, if that sounds possible.
They
much
have
lower.
to have a $50 phone. I mean, that's just the way the market is.
It might even be free for all I know.
Right.
I mean, it's really low. They never said, so we'll see.
So
it's a beautiful phone, though.
So I'm now no longer thinking 920. I'm thinking HTC 8X. I like it. I used to love HTC phones.
I can't say that I've ever loved an HTC phone. I as we were saying earlier, I kind of went into this with lowered expectations,
right,
and walked out of there like someone who had just been converted at a religious revival. I couldn't.
Hallelujah!
I had to pull him out of there. It was ugly.
Wow.
Kicking and screaming. Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, they look nice. I'm basing my entire choice on what's on Verizon. So if it's the Nokia 820 versus the 8X from HTC, I say let me look at both and actually try both and then decide. At least we'll have a choice, which we don't now.
So I'll wait until you tell me.
Okay.
Well, it always seemed like obviously Nokia is sort of the favored partner here. And you sort of assume like, well, these will be the best devices. They clearly work very closely with Microsoft. But it's very clear after seeing this HTC event that they're not the only ones working very closely with Microsoft, and that perhaps that came out of other partners complaining about what happened with Nokia, and that they've gotten some special consideration here as well.
Is the Ativ not to be considered?
No, I think we need to see it, right? I wouldn't just discount it right up front. In fact, one of the things I need to remind myself of is that I've owned every other Samsung Windows phone before this, and they were all excellent.
Right.
I looked at that thing, just looking at pictures of it, it looks very pedestrian to me. But I like the Samsung Galaxy S3, and the notion of that phone running Windows Phone is a good one. So, we'll see. I have a feeling that it's going to be just like that device, where it's super light. It's got that kind of really thin back that is almost like a tissue paper thinness, But, of course, the nice thing about that is you can get the battery out of there.
Right.
And so there are advantages to that as well. So I obviously you want to compare these things real world. But there's some devices like the Kindle has this, the Kindle Fire, where it's got this kind of really nice grippy back, and it just feels really nice in your hand. This 8X has that.
It's like rubberized paint or something.
Yeah, it's neat. It's got a really neat quality to it.
I'm fond of that as well.
Yeah. The whole going back though for a second to the who's the favored partner now. I think this is a really interesting point to bring up again, because everybody's been saying, Nokia phone, it's basically the Microsoft phone, right? And that's kind of how we've been feeling about
Stephen
it.
Elop?
Yep. Because of Stephen Elop, because, they jumped off the burning platform into Microsoft's arms, right? And they're only doing Windows phones. But now yesterday we hear these new phones described as the signature phones.
Oh, how interesting.
Right. So it's like, okay, is Microsoft just trying to play fair now, or are they playing favorites in a new way? It's not really clear.
And Steve Ballmer was there.
He was. But he was there at the Nokia one, too.
Oh, he was. Okay.
Very promiscuous on Microsoft's part. But, these phones are called Windows Phone. They don't have this brand name. They're HTC Windows Phone 8 X.
8.
S. I mean, very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, and I guess you could say HTC is jumping off a burning platform almost just as much as Nokia is. They're struggling.
Well, are they scrubbing Android? I mean, they just released an excellent Android phone.
No, they're not scrubbing Android, but I don't think Android's doing well for them. I think they're really
okay.
They're no longer the choice, right?
However, the product mix works out. Companies like Samsung and HTC, it makes sense for them to have more than one platform.
Why not?
And get stuck.
You make a good point because the X designation is used in the HTC One.
Yeah.
They've got an HTC 8X is Windows, but the HTC One X is Android. So no, you make a good point. Maybe it's okay to have. Yeah, and maybe it's okay to do that from Microsoft's point of view.
Sure.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, a partner is a partner.
Right.
I mean, and by the way, for whatever, seriously, if they had released nothing other than some Windows Phone 8 device that was basically the 1X reskinned running Windows Phone, I think we would have been okay with that. And, we would have approached this generation of devices a little differently. We would have considered or continued this notion that it was Nokia and then everyone else, because everyone else was just doing the same kind of thing.
Right.
But this has really upset the apple cart. I mean, it was very unexpected and in a very nice way to see someone else kind of rise to the challenge here. So, we'll see. But there's a nice comparison of the picture you're showing if you're listening.
It's the 8X versus the 900.
Right, and that's my phone underneath there. That big brick of a phone.
It's thick.
Yeah, it's big.
You also provided from WPCentral.com a table of comparison of the HTC 8X, the Lumia 920, and the Ativ S. The Lumia does have a slightly higher screen resolution, but the HTC 8X is the only one with competitive to the iPhone, 341 pixels per inch. That's really a high resolution Retina.
I mean, I'd say they're all comparable.
I mean, I don't know if there's that much difference, right?
Yeah.
The Nokia is the only one we can use with gloves. I thought that was very strange.
Well, they are from Finland.
Yeah, we live in Finland, so we have to use gloves. Weight-wise, the HTC is absolutely the lightest. Speed-wise, they're all comparable. Mm-hmm. Storage is going to be the only one that can use a micro SD is the Ativ, the Samsung.
Right, because it's not a unibody design.
Which presumably means you can change the battery on it as well.
Yeah. Nokia and HTC both have lower end devices that do have SD expandability. But I think are compromised in other ways that make them less interesting in both cases. So I think that comparison you were just looking at, I mean, realistically, anyone listening to this podcast or anyone who's a tech enthusiast or just a Windows Phone enthusiast is going to want to be looking at those three phones, not the lower end ones. Even though they are in some ways interesting, they're just too compromised in other areas.
Paul, if I can give you a counter argument to the SD expansion on unibody, there is a micro SIM slot on the unibody, so why couldn't they do an SD slot?
I know. I don't get that.
I also am more and more coming to the opinion that the amount of memory is less important than it used to be because you're storing so much stuff in the cloud.
You're right, and this is the argument I've been having on Twitter all day long. And this is something that comes up with any comparison you want to make with products, and it's whether you're talking about the Kindle Fire, these new Office 365 subscriptions we're going to get to in a moment, or these devices here, where there's always going to be this class of people that needs like super amounts of storage for whatever reason because they like to micromanage things. And then there are people like me who have kind of moved along from that. And even though I have spent the better part of the past decade.
I have spent the better part of my life.
Managing my music collection like an idiot. You
don't need to do it anymore, Paul.
I can subscribe to Zoom Pass and I just get all this stuff and it's fine. Exactly. So I was just one of the things I was looking at earlier as we were cutting off the video because we're having technical issues is, my storage on my existing phone. And I have a 16 gigabyte Lumia 900. And it's curious. Like, I wonder, like, what do I have on here? I mean, is there a bunch of stuff in there? Actually, the truth is there is a lot of stuff. I subscribe to several podcasts, including 2 that are video podcasts. I have lots of music on here, almost all of which comes from Zoom Pass. And it's not like I'm hurting for stuff to do. I mean, when I go on a long trip, it's one thing to commute, I guess, and, need to listen to some content or whatever. But, if I'm going on an actual plane ride, I'm not going to be watching a movie on my phone, even though it's possible to do so. I'm going to be using a small tablet or my laptop or something like that. I mean, I don't really think that for most people, again, there's nothing absolute here, but for most people, I just don't think lots and lots of storage is necessary. It's kind of like Apple with the iPod Classic. They kind of keep it kicking around because there are some people that need it. But most people want the iPod Touch, in that case or whatever.
Yeah, I just bought a Classic, by the way.
Did you really?
Yeah, but
wow.
It was a very specialized purpose. I wanted to
So I keep a Classic because it's the only one that works in my car.
There you
because
go.
Because the iPod connector changes have, obsoleted.
Right.
Everything. Yeah.
I think everybody should run out and buy 30-pin connector devices because
I couldn't agree with you more.
Not long for this world.
I won't rest until we all have those connectors.
So let's talk about
my mind.
Yeah. No, I know. Paul and I really are brothers from a different mother because pretty much we operate in the same sphere of grumpiness, dismay, and
explains the future porch that we're going to live on. And
bitter people. Yeah. Office 2013. We now have a price.
Yep, we do. We have all the consumer and small business prices for what people are going to be able to get. I think except for a university, maybe.
I'm trying to remember what we said. We were talking monthly prices, weren't we, when we were talking about the price?
Well, so here's what Microsoft's trying to do. They're trying to get more people to sign up for paying for Office on a subscription basis. Right. So you pay every year, and you don't, quote, own it, right? That you pay Microsoft so that you can use it.
Right.
And that's what the plans are that are called Office 365 Home Premium, Office 365 Small Business Premium. Those mean basically you get to install the apps on your PC, but you're paying Microsoft on a subscription basis. And if you go with those plans, you also get regular and supposedly more frequent updates to the products. Whenever there's a new feature, a fix, you're going to get that rolled to you immediately. If you decide you don't want to do that and you just want to buy them as you always did, Microsoft's going to make it more expensive for you to do that. And you're not going to get the fixes as quickly. So this is their way of saying, hey, we want to take you guys closer to the cloud. Well, this idea that you're buying into the cloud through Office 365. So they're really doing a carrot and stick thing here. It's like, hey, if you agree to do subscriptions, we're going to give you, the extra a few extra Skype minutes every month. We're going to give you more storage on SkyDrive. We're going to let you install this on up to 5 devices so you can mix and match PCs and Macs. So you could say, buy the subscription, pay for it on the yearly basis, and you can put it on 5 different machines.
3 PCs and 2 Macs.
2 Macs. Yep, you could.
How interesting. They've never done that
But
before.
You cannot the other way. If you buy the plain old Office 2013 and you pay for it,
That's
can't
it.
do that.
One platform.
Yep.
But could you still install the purchased Office 2013 on 5 computers?
You'd have to buy it 5 times.
You have to buy it 5 times. Now they used to do desktop and laptop. You still could do that, right?
No, I don't think you can. They had 2 packs and 3 packs of different offers. Like you can put it on 2 PCs, but that's gone, I believe.
So $99 a year, which seems that's not bad.
$8.33 a month.
That's kind of what we were saying. That would be good.
Computers.
And that's for 5 computers. Weren't we saying,
amazing.
hey, if they go under $10, this is a winner? And it's really much under, considering you're getting 5 licenses.
And some other stuff, too, right? The additional SkyDrive storage on that one account. And,
how much SkyDrive?
20 gigs extra on top of 7. Yep.
Wow. Well, I already have 25 because they gave me 25. So
you get 20 more.
So it'd be 45.
Yep.
That's pretty attractive.
And 60 minutes of Skype international, what do they call it?
Now,
calling.
It would probably be illegal, but, we use Office on Windows. Lisa uses Excel. So I could use a couple of licenses here. Could I then use one at home, too?
Well, it's technically a home license, like a household license.
This is not a business version.
Probably not a non-commercial use kind of thing. There is a small business subscription, but that one is licensed per user, and you do still get the 5 device installs, but it's per user. So that one would be more expensive.
Yeah. So this whole new concept of a home license is what's new here, right? And I said to Microsoft, what does it mean, a home license? It means everybody who has the same address.
Oh, yeah. So we have to live
household.
together.
You have to live together if you want to share your PC license.
Microsoft is inciting people to live together.
There are savings to be had there too, Leo. I'm just saying.
Wow. So a home is an address, but it could be roommates.
Sure.
Yes, it can.
Yep.
They didn't want to go into like domestic partnership. They didn't want to go there. I asked them that actually.
Could I create an Office 2013 commune?
Yes, you could do it.
Yes, I think they would be okay with it. Really, clearly the goal here is for you to get Office.
That's M-Lock's.
And they're going to be open to lots of different ideas here.
And now Mac is behind. It won't be 2013 for the Mac.
Well, no, because it's just behind. But as the Mac version of Office is upgraded, that will be included as well. Absolutely.
So it's a subscription. So I get an automatic upgrade.
The other thing that's happening here, by the way, and this is important to think of in comparison to, say, Windows 8, where we're kind of wondering how they're going to update it. They also said that this thing is going to be upgraded several times a year, not just with security updates and bug fixes, but with functional upgrades. And so Office 2013, or the new Office, or whatever they're calling it, is something that is not standing still as well. It will be upgraded over time, just like their web-based version of the Office web apps or the Office 365 online services have been upgraded over time. So too now will be so too now will be Office 2013. So it'd be interesting to see if 3 years down the road they actually come up with something called Office 2016 or whatever they're going to do, or whether they just keep upgrading Office this way. That Office is something that evolves over time rather than having these big drops. It's kind of hard to say, but interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And then they also confirmed this week that if you buy any way that you buy Office 2010 between October 19th and April 30th, 2013, you're automatically going to get a free upgrade to either this Office subscription thing, or you could choose the on-premises plain old Office.
Well, you ought to, because you're paying more than $99 for the Office 2010.
Yep. So it's their, what they call the guaranteed thing, like they do with Windows too.
Right. And so it's April that this will come out, April 2013.
No. We don't know still when Office.
But if they say that you can upgrade up through April 2013, it means that they're going to come out in April 2013.
Actually, the RTM rumored RTM for this product is November 2012, and general availability by February 2012. So they're just giving you a little extra time in case.
In case you found an old copy of 2010 lying around and you bought it because you didn't know it was out.
You brought it home like it's a puppy. Then you have to feed it.
And that you can't just throw it on the street. You have to keep it. No. So do you get 20 gigs per?
No.
It's shared among the 5 people.
No, it's actually not even shared. I think it's for the purchasing account. And so if you think about how an account might work, like you as the father of a family in this example, you have your own Hotmail account or whatever, and you're the one that buys this.
Daddy gets it.
You get that storage.
Yeah.
As you give out the copies of Office to the people in their families, they're going to log on to Office with their own accounts, and they'll have their own storage associated with it. But the important thing there is just that they're getting their own personalized experience too, right? They could use your computer, log you out of Word or whatever, log them in, and they'll have access to their SkyDrive-based storage through Office now. And so that's really kind of the point of it. And so you can't share that storage, although, I mean, you could almost imagine an interface where you could dole out amounts of the storage to everyone in the family. It would get kind of
We'll leave that
silly.
as an exercise for the listener.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to do that.
No. Well, this is very aggressive. $99 a year.
I think so.
5 licenses. Neat.
Yeah, and I think the reason it's a big deal is because Microsoft has wanted to do this for a long time. But the big sea change here is adapting to what I think of now as like the App Store model, where it's high volume, low price kind of thing, where people expect to be able to do this stuff online seamlessly, have it happen automatically, and have it be really inexpensive. And it's interesting that they got here so quickly. I mean, you'd almost expect Microsoft, just the way they are, to kind of move into this slowly and get there in half steps. That it would just get kind of become a better deal over time. But it seems like they just jumped in with both feet here. So it's neat to see them do that so quickly.
Bravo! Microsoft. They ought to be proud. They've been very aggressive this year.
Yeah.
They said, we're not going to rest on our laurels or whatever that is they've been sitting on.
Yeah.
And now we have in fact, we've been trying to decide how we're going to cover this. And I've been meaning to ask you guys. The launch is October 25th.
Yep.
And you guys are it's in New York, so you guys are going to be there, right?
Yep.
Right.
What time? Do we know what time?
No, we don't know where or when.
We don't know yet.
There's some notion that there's going to be like a Midnight Madness thing that is not the event, but will happen afterwards, obviously. Mary Jo and I have been talking about this notion of a meetup or a tweet up that we'll have somewhere in New York as well, that it will obviously be separate from the Microsoft event. But, as we did for Windows 7 where we had that party.
Right.
We'll do something like that.
I wonder if I should fly out and I don't know. This is interesting. I definitely.
We think you should come.
Yeah, I haven't been. The last Windows launch I was at was Windows 95.
Wow,
Was it really? Wow.
Listen, Leo, if you have a couple of minutes, a couple of things have changed since then. So
I remember how exciting
let me see if I can condense it down.
There might not be a Ferris wheel.
No,
there might not be a Ferris wheel.
There was a Ferris wheel, and Start Me Up. There was the Rolling Stones, sort of, on tape.
I know. No, but Jay Leno was there. Remember?
Jay Leno, that's right. Yeah, I do remember that.
Yep.
But yeah, you should come. Come on.
All right. October 25th, New York City. Yeah, it's kind of going to be midnight, right? Because isn't the 26th the actual ship day?
Yeah, they're going to do something like that where stores are going to be able to open at midnight and people will be able to buy it.
And now Manhattan doesn't have a Microsoft store, but they're going to. We talked last week about the pop-ups.
Right.
So that's
we'll see.
We don't know if it'll be open.
I can't believe they're going to have a launch event at a place where you can't buy the product. So it seems like they're going to have some.
All right, I'm going to fly out. I want to be there. Yeah. So we do Windows Weekly on Thursday. So I'll fly out. Yep. We'll do Windows Weekly, and then we'll be there for the special event. I think that would be lots of fun. And then we'll have our anchor-based coverage here at the same time.
Sure.
Okay, let me talk to the boss and make sure that that's okay. But
I was under the impression that you were the boss.
Oh.
Oh no.
Oh, things have changed here at the Brick House. Under my thumb, she's humming it right now. What do you think? We could do live coverage from New York of the Windows 8 launch. It's October 25th, maybe a midnight event. We'll do Windows Weekly out there. It's a Thursday, then
October 28th.
25th.
Who's going to go out there?
Yep.
She says, who's going to go out there? I was thinking of sending Alex. He's got the T-shirt.
Well, no.
Me? That's who? No, she says no.
Yeah, you can't go.
Paul and Mary Jo.
Paul and Mary Jo are going. They're going to be there.
Yeah.
They're going to be there. Will there be, what'll be for sale there? Will it be, it'll be Surface, right? As well as Windows 8?
Yep.
Probably.
Surface RT.
Yeah, not Surface Pro.
Right.
Surface RT.
Windows 8 Secrets will be available for sale.
Paul will have a box. And he'll be standing out front. Are you going to could you do the robot thing? Because that's really fun when you do that. You go, zzz, 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 zzz.
I'm going to have those spinning signs. It will be like a copy of the book on it. I'll just spin it around.
Windows 8, it's right here, Windows 8. All right. No, I think, yeah, let's do that. I'd like to go out for that. It's in Manhattan, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Somewhere in Manhattan.
Somewhere in Manhattan. Well, it's got to be Times Square. Right?
It's a good guess.
The pop-up store is in Columbus Circle,
Ooh.
in the...
It's at the Time Warner building.
Yep. So it could be there.
Is AOL still in there, or is it just Time Warner?
I'm not sure they're still in there.
I think AOL was
AOL
going to be in there. Now it's just Time Warner.
I think they moved to a different location.
Yeah.
I think they slunk away. Tail between their legs.
Yep.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I would, count on that. Now, that's Windows 8, but there is going to be a Windows Phone 8 launch a few days later, which is very confusing.
Yes, there is.
It's somewhere in California. We still are not exactly sure where.
Wouldn't that be good? I fly to New York for Windows 8, and then they have the event here in Petaluma.
Well, you could join us because we'll be flying from New York to California that weekend.
So we could do a whole thing. Maybe we should just get a bus.
I think we should
do a road trip. I'm
RV.
Paul, will you drive? I can see
Is the lizard edible?
see Paul driving down the road in an
Driving a bus,
RV.
yeah.
I like it. Mary Jo and me in the back making beer or meth.
There you go.
Or I was just going to say, it would be like Breaking Bad
It'd be like Breaking Bad.
without the killing or the drugs
Can we get an RV with bullet holes in the door? That's what I want to know.
for ventilation.
For ventilation only. So Windows Phone 8 launches October 29th somewhere in California. And then you're going to go on to Redmond, right?
Yep. Then we go to Build, which it starts October 29th in Redmond. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun-filled week of traveling. And then Paul and I
you're
are
not
going to
done.
Vegas.
Yeah,
We're
you're
going
not
to
done.
Done
Windows
at the-
Connection.
Yep.
Yeah.
Win Connections, which is that a Penton Media event?
Yes, it is.
Good Lord, you're going
Las
to be
Vegas.
so cranky by the end of that week.
It's going to be great.
Wow. This is Paul's
It's
life.
fun. It's going to be fun, though. Fun week.
I can't wait. I think it's going to be like Hunter S. Thompson by the end.
I know. That's what I'm thinking. Or it's going to be like the beginning of what those, what are those movies where they wake up in a daze
Yeah,
and a half
Hangover.
for
Yeah.
The Hangover.
Hangover
it'll be
3.
Yeah,
Paul, Mary Jo, and Leo in Vegas.
right. How did it will be like the desert outside of Vegas, and I'll have like an empty bottle of something.
Wow, this is going to... I'm excited, and I'm really excited. System builder pricing. Somehow it says
So
related.
This is a rumor. Yeah, this one's kind of a rumor, unsubstantiated so far, but pretty likely rumor. So the one element of Windows 8 pricing we haven't known so far is the system builder license. So this is the license for people who are building their own PCs and for smaller OEMs, the do-it-yourself crowd, right? And everybody's been wondering, what's Microsoft going to charge for this? Because they are going to make this license available to people. And I've heard from a pretty reliable source that the pricing is going to be almost identical to what Windows 7 system builder pricing is, which is about just under $100 per copy for the consumer version. And if you want the Windows 8 Pro version, more like $20 to $40 more. So that's good news.
What do you do with this?
About the same. This is what you use if you don't already have. Well, it's also what you use if you don't already have a license for Windows. Like if you're running it in parallels on a Mac, I believe you have to get this license, don't you, Paul?
I'm
To
sorry.
be legal. I was saying if
I'm
you're
I'm not actually positive, to be honest.
you're not positive about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think it has something to do with that too. But this is the license if you want to build your own PC. People who build their own PCs.
Right.
This is your license.
Wait, is that true? It's the license
Yeah.
if you want to build your own PC. Okay.
It's what we used to call like
it's
the
replacing-
the OEM license, right?
Yeah, it's for smaller OEMs. It is replacing whatever you use currently. But I thought that also was system builder license too.
Maybe it was called that.
Well, no, okay, maybe I'm misunderstanding. But I think if you're building your own PC, if you're just an individual, you would typically buy the retail version, wouldn't you?
Well,
And not the OEM
remember
version.
when you go to Newegg, they have they used to call it the OEM version, and you have to buy like a video card with it. So that
Well,
you're
no,
like,
but the point of that was you're actually building it for someone else.
yeah,
Like,
you're a system integrator.
Yeah.
But this, with Windows 8, we know there's not going to be the fully packaged product sold at retail anymore.
At all?
We're pretty sure
Really?
about that.
Wow.
Yep. That's true.
Yeah, so it's going to be the upgrades that are sold at retail and this thing, the system builder thing. So this is what you're going to have as your choices.
So Microsoft's kind of acknowledging what was always kind of the de facto truth, which is that people who build their own computers don't buy the full version of Windows. They buy the OEM version or the system builder version in this case. Even though that's technically not right. They're not supposed to do that.
Yeah. Right, but now this is the new way to do it, I guess.
Yeah, it sounds like they don't. This is it.
Yep.
Interesting. Since you can't buy a shrink-wrapped full version of Windows.
We believe you cannot, but no one's, I think, still officially said that, but I believe that is true.
Mm-hmm. I do too.
Now, BC is saying he bought the full version, 3 copies.
No, not not of
That was
Windows
an
8. It's not
upgrade
out yet.
version. That was an upgrade version.
No, it's not. This product is not out yet.
This is called Windows 8 BC. Maybe you're thinking of Windows 95. I remember that. I was at the.
I don't know if he was calling from the future, but tell me, who wins the World Series?
I'd like to place a small wager.
Yes, I would. I'd like to put my 401k on the Yankees, please.
No. Recycle bin comes to SkyDrive.
Woohoo.
Huh?
So that means instead of erasing something, you will throw it in the recycle bin and you could get it back out.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm
It's like
explaining
the
that.
recycle
Everybody understands
Yeah,
what
yeah.
that is.
Leo, going back to my comment about Windows 95,
They added that then.
a couple of things have changed.
I was hoping they would put that in Windows.
No, but this they didn't have this on SkyDrive till now, and
Right.
a lot of people wanted this back, especially people who are sharing files. They're like, "Hey, somebody threw this away. I didn't want that thrown away."
That actually is
Or
one of
what
the
it-
nice
yeah,
features of
it-
Dropbox is you can recover deleted files. You can still see them and get them.
Right. So in other words, you've embraced this whole Microsoft Cloud thing, and then you inadvertently delete something, and it's
Yeah.
gone.
You don't want to do that.
And now that's no longer the case. Yeah.
Right.
It's worth noting, by the way, that if you're accessing SkyDrive through Windows, like through the Windows shell, excuse me, you can enable features in Windows that will, back up those files automatically, including previous versions of those files. So, Windows 8 has like that file history
I
feature.
love
Windows
that, by the way. That's so
previous
sweet.
version,
Yeah.
So this is referring specifically to the web interface.
In the web interface, yeah. That makes sense. There it is. Look, he would like to delete this picture of him.
Wow,
and
that's
his-
they're like soap opera stars.
Yeah, well, there are beautiful people here. But right now, if you delete it, it's gone forever. So don't do that, Alex. Oh, wait a minute. There it is in the recycle bin.
You'll never get rid of it now, Leo.
Restore. No, restore.
Don't click delete.
Ooh, that was close.
Oh, man.
That's an image we don't want to lose. And I'm never going to forget. Sculpt keyboard now out with Windows 8. Keys. Do they have a Charms key?
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
they do.
I don't have one yet, but yeah. So I don't think it's out yet. I think it's
Mary Jo
coming
has
out in
one.
October.
No, I don't have one, but I'm actually interested in this because I'm thinking, okay, that might make me like Windows 8 on
Exactly.
on a desktop. Maybe,
I want a
maybe.
Charms key.
Yeah, but this one, so there was a Sculpt mobile keyboard that they announced this summer, but I think this is the full keyboard, like, the Microsoft
Yeah, so-
ergonomic keyboard.
The mobile keyboard is this one, the Sculpt one. This is
Yep,
actually
there you
not
go.
the Sculpt mobile keyboard, but this is the old version of it. It's the same exact hardware, small.
Did you just bend it, or
Yeah.
was that my imagination?
I am huge and strong, but no, it's actually not.
Is there something wrong? Is it deformed?
No, it's slightly ergonomic.
Slightly, I'd
It's
say.
got a bump, it's got a little baby bump there in the middle.
I'm not going to comment. And we have a few little tidbits. We have time. We can talk about them. RIM, this is weird, is licensing the file system from Microsoft, but not the OS.
I like this one because RIM's stock apparently shot up when there were rumors that they were doing some licensing.
That's
deal
why
with
they
Microsoft.
did it. That's exactly
And
why
then
they did it.
it was for the exFAT file system, which I would just point out to people that Microsoft is not using in its own mobile OS and is instead using NTFS.
What is the exFAT file system? Was it for some mobile?
It's proprietary derivative of FAT32, basically. Just the
And
fat,
who
the
uses
fat.
it?
It's for cameras and mobile devices and things.
Oh, but Microsoft doesn't use it.
No.
They license it to a lot of people, though.
Give it to
They
RIM.
license it.
They'll buy anything.
Don't license anything. Well, no, I guess it's like FAT32, but it accepts the larger file sizes and
Extended FAT.
yeah, it's proprietary.
It's
So it's good.
It's good.
Made it in our easy bake oven.
Apple is going to settle with the publishers.
Well, they're going to settle with the European Union,
Ah,
or they're going to try. And 4 of the 5 publishers that are being investigated there for collusion and price fixing.
isn't Google still like on the hook for this?
Yeah, and as are these same companies in the United States for the same thing. So
And Kindle Fire HD, did you get yours yet?
I did. I was actually hoping to publish that review today. It will have to be after the show, obviously, since it didn't happen. But yeah, it's Amazon. I guess
I have some thoughts.
yeah, it's complicated. It's not you, it's me. No, it's
It's like a Facebook.
I like it.
relationship.
I like it. It seemed like this thing was going to be more of a slam dunk than it is. It's kind of an awkward form factor compared to the Nexus 7 from Google. But I like the Amazon services better. I think that kind of puts it over the top. But Amazon's contention that this is the best tablet at any price is it's a stretch of epic proportions.
If Google hadn't done the Nexus 7, maybe.
Well, no, I think they still would have done this. They had the original Kindle Fire last year. It's not that. It's just
it's a good product for somebody who doesn't want complex, things. It just wants to buy stuff on Amazon, read Kindle books, watch Amazon movies. It's fine. So
whatever it's worth, honestly, that is a description of most people that buy an iPad, except you just substitute the Apple word instead of the Amazon word. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just think for people who are kind of tech savvy, again, listeners of this podcast, it's not necessarily your kind of device. It really is aimed at a mass market consumer thing. And there's some, there was a big controversy early on about how you wouldn't be able to turn off those special offers, right? I actually prefer those special offers.
I don't mind.
Now,
they're not in the way. Yeah,
I like them. I even like them. I've used 3 or 4. In fact, in the review, you can later read. It's actually worked out to my benefit to have them. But so now you can remove those. Neat. But the thing I can't stand about it is on the home screen now, instead of that favorites area, they have like this recommended area. So every time you select anything in the carousel, they try to sell you stuff on the bottom of the screen. And it's just it's so bald-faced and awful. It's like this e-commerce experiment, Like is it not enough that I'm looking at stuff that I bought from you already? Like now you're selling me other stuff. I have selected the New York Times that says you might also like to read the Washington Post, by the way. That's a newspaper we sell too. like seriously?
But that's what Amazon does.
But it's never been this in your face. If you pick up a Kindle, like a device, there is no commerce activity occurring on that screen. You actually have to bring up a hidden menu to shop in the store. This one, it's just like it's in your face, and it's just a little much, And I'm sure there are people who just can't afford an iPad or something, and they buy this thing because it's inexpensive. And I don't know what their lot in life is, but I hope what they're not thinking is, well, like I'm kind of I don't have a lot of money, so I guess I have to put up with this crap. It's like that really it stinks.
You can pay $15 and get rid of it.
No, you can't get rid of that. You can't get rid of the
the recommended. But you can get rid of the offers, but not the recommended.
The offers I don't mind. Actually,
I agree.
Are beneficial. But that stuff that's in the device, that's a little much. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a market for it. It's pretty simple. It's cheap. A lot of the negatives about the old one are gone. This hesitation and stuff. But it's, buy Nexus 7. It's the same price, and it's full Android.
Except for one thing. So on the Nexus 7, there's an interesting thing you can do where you obviously have the Google services. And you can load the Amazon App Store in there. You can load the Amazon, some Amazon stuff, the Kindle Store, and the Reading app, obviously. The Music app goes on there. But you don't get the other stuff. You can't do things like you can't subscribe to the New York Times through Kindle and have it appear on the Nexus 7. You can't do that. You can't subscribe to magazines to the Kindle and have them appear there. You can't rent, buy, or watch movies on any of Amazon's video services on the Nexus 7. And so it's not that simple because Google's services in those areas are actually not very good compared to Amazon's. And so it's kind of a weird toss-up, And so I don't normally recommend or even think about this kind of thing, but this might be the first time that I take an Amazon device and just kind of root it and in an effort to get rid of some of that stuff, which is kind of tells you how bad that is. It's too bad.
There you have it. I completely agree with you, 100%. 100%. And I have it and I put it aside. It's like, okay, just like the original.
I probably will use it.
Will you
but
use
it's
it?
Just,
yeah.
But I mean, it's still. I like the form factor of the Nexus 7 better. I do
too. It's faster. It's easier. It's cleaner. It's harder to use,
but it's also $50 more per unit. For the price. For the amount of memory.
Okay. So you get 16 gigs.
Yeah, for $50 less.
For $50 less. Okay. That's perhaps legitimate.
Yeah. So I think they're going to sell a bunch of them. I hope there's enough complaint about the recommendation stuff that they allow people to buy out of that.
Right. I think that's Amazon's
that would make
thing.
That would make it okay. I think that would make.
The reason they didn't think about it is because that's what you get on the website. That's
it's
their
so
thing.
in your face. It's so in your face.
See, I haven't noticed it. I haven't done anything yet with it, so I'll have to try that and see.
It's weird.
We're going to get to our picks of the week and our code name of the week, which is very Star Trek-y. But first, let's talk a little bit about Audible.com. What a great place to go to back up all your data. No, that's just, I'm kidding. That's because I would do that before. What a great place to go to get audiobooks. More than 100,000 audiobooks. Great stuff. Paul and I are big Audible fanatics. I love the new WhisperSync, by the way, which, Amazon, I don't know if they're still doing this. I should check. They offered 22 public domain books for free on the Kindle. And then, like David Copperfield, stuff like that. And then when you bought it, it said, you really ought to try WhisperSync with Audible, and they would give you a free copy of the Audible book. So that was really, really awesome. Here's David Copperfield, and then you get the audiobook for free if you go to audible.com. It said, we saw you bought that because it's the same company. And then I should have my Kindle here. Or my Nexus 7, I don't. It's all right. It's okay. But then what happens is as you're listening, and you have to do this in the Kindle app, you're reading, and there's a button that says play, and you can listen to the audible narration, and it highlights the words as you read. It's so cool. Or you can, let's say you're at home, you're reading a book on your Kindle, and you get in the car. The audio syncs up to where you left off reading, and now you start the book from there. WhisperSync is now on Audible, and it's fantastic. It's a good argument for using the Kindle app when you read and the Audible app when you listen, because that way they'll sync up. And I just love it. I mean, now I can listen on any device because I have Audible everywhere. And I just stop, and then I'm listening on my phone, and it picks up where I left off. It's so cool. So get the Audible app. They've got apps for Android, iPhone, and, of course, Windows Phone. And it's just... Does the Windows Phone support WhisperSync? Do they update that?
I don't think they have yet.
They updated it iOS and Android very quickly, but that may be that they haven't yet.
No, I've not seen that. No,
it's a nice feature. So, what will happen is if you've been listening on your computer or Kindle, it will then and then you open it up on your Windows Phone. It'll say, "Hey, you were listening on the Kindle 2 hours and 33 minutes in. You want me to jump to that point?" You say yes, and it does. So the trick, the challenge with Audible is picking the book because, I have 500 books in my library. I love Audible. I've been listening since 2001. But there's still, every time I go back there, I want to listen to that. And you've done it again because Paul's got a recommendation that I can't wait to listen to.
By the way, before I get to that, I just wanted to say one of the things I feared doing with Audible is combining my Amazon account with the Audible account. This is a feature they added at some point. You could just
do not fear it, Paul.
Yeah, actually, I fear it so much that I let my wife do it for me. And
you wimp.
I know. And she did, it worked okay. So
it's fine. I did that immediately, and I don't know if you have to do that to get the WhisperSync, but it's
you do. That's why it happened. Yeah. She wanted to try this out. So
here, thank you, Knox Harrington. Here's the link to all 22 of the books. So you get these on the Kindle first, the print editions. And then you can, when you buy it, here, I'll show you. And it's free. So there's a couple I didn't get because they were like kids' books that I didn't really care about. Let me see. Here, Black Beauty. I didn't get that. So it's free. So I go and I say, Black Beauty. All right, let's put this on my Kindle.
Speaking of which, you really got to rename those. Leo's 5th Kindle.
I know. 6th Kindle, Leo's Classic, Leo's Kindle, look at all the Kindles. 7th Kindle, 8th Android. You're right. I got to rename those. But anyway, I'll put it on my 5th Kindle.
All right.
No, actually, I went on my iPad. I'm going to put it on my iPad. There we go. Buy now with one click. Now, watch what happens. So that's free, even though it says buy now. You're going to get Black Beauty. And then, now that you own the Kindle book, you can add the professional narration for $0 from Audible. So you click the buy at audible.com.
So what if it's not one of those books?
It still does it.
No, I know, but I assume you have to pay for it. So are you still paying the full price of the audiobook?
I don't know if they do a bundle. That's interesting. I think so.
It seems like they should, yeah.
They should do a bundle, and I don't know if they're doing that. But these 22 are a great way to start. And so now I have Black Beauty both in my Audible list and in my Kindle list, and I can go back and forth, which is so, so cool. I'm going to log in, blah, 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 and it's great. So anyway, that's a great tip, right?
Yeah.
22 free books, and they're still doing it. But I don't know how long they're going to do that for. And it's not in the ad, so I probably, they're going to get mad at me now for mentioning it. But why would they? It's cool. But you have something I want to listen to too.
Yeah, so I was, I went to, I very rarely go to the movies, like actual movies, but I was at the movies, and it was a preview of The Hobbit, which obviously I'm looking forward to, but I learned that Peter Jackson has turned this thing into a 3-movie series, like The Lord of the Rings. Now, if you're familiar with The Hobbit, you know that it's a fairly short story.
It's a single volume. It's not that short, but it's not as long as The Lord of the Rings.
That book is less than half as long as any of the books in The Lord of the Rings. So it's got to be like 1/6 or 1/8 of the length of the entire Lord of the Rings. And somehow they're going to drag it out to 3 movies, which I'm a little nervous about now because that suggests to me that they're going to add a bunch of stuff that doesn't belong in there. And as good as those Lord of the Rings movies were, he also made King Kong, which, when my son and I went to see that movie in the theater, we walked in, I think it was 53 minutes into the movie, if I'm not mistaken. It might have been 43, but 43 or 53 minutes in, they had not gotten to the island yet. And it was like, seriously, could you tell this story in a concise way, please? So anyway,
you think he's going to pad? Is that what you're saying?
He's going to have to pad. I don't know. You could, one of the audiobooks. So there are 2 versions of The Hobbit on Audible. Both of them are dramatized. One's a U.S. version that was done by NPR. I'm not sure when. One is a BBC version from the UK that was done back in the 1960s. The shorter of the 2 is 3 hours and 42 minutes long. I mean, that's basically the length of a Peter Jackson movie. So it's possible to tell this story in the right amount of time. But both these are kind of cool. Like I was listening to the snippets of each, and obviously the British version is very British, which is what you're looking for with The Hobbit.
Oh, so there's 2
2 versions, yeah.
I see that all the Lord of the Rings they've done this with as well. So
yeah.
So there's 2 different casts. You could go with how do you know which is which?
The second one that you're looking at there on the list is the BBC version.
So the one with the green hills on the front, it's actually shorter because the British read faster. It's only 3 hours 42. But let's listen to a little bit of this.
A hole in the ground, there lived a hobbit.
Not a nasty, dirty wet hole, nor yet a dry, sandy bare hole. My hole was a hobbit hole.
Now, is it the text of the book? Or...
Yeah, no, they're dramatized. So obviously there's some element of that, but there's actually that one that you were reading is it's kind of expanded on in a way, like, because it's not just the narrative; it's
kind of a little
one
dialogue.
of the characters jumping in and saying,
here, let's listen to this. This is the American one.
Yeah. The Gandalf who was responsible for so many quiet lads and lasses.
No, get the British one. I can tell you right now. Get the other one.
Obviously, written by Tolkien, and the British one has that kind of flavor to it.
That's great.
Yeah, interesting.
Nice pick. So you can get that for free if you go to audible.com/windows. What we're going to do is get you signed up for that gold account. That's a book a month. It's actually a credit a month, although 90% of the books on Audible are 1 credit. A few of the really long books are more than 1 credit. This is not. This is a single credit. And you can try it for free. And it's, cancel at any time, pay nothing. I think you're going to like it. audible.com/windows. Now time, my friends, for our pick. Actually, let's start with the tip of the week from Paul Thurrott.
So this is the long-running, what will he do? Like the home server thing. It's weird to me how much email I get about this topic. People are really concerned. What are you going to do about the home server? Are you going to choose Windows 8? Or are you going to choose Windows Server Essentials 2012? This is kind of a tough decision because some of the core stuff is available in both. Storage spaces, for example, a great way to do the data storage stuff is available in both Windows 8 and in Windows Server Essentials 2012. But I've been looking at Essentials, and I think for me, I should say, for me, I'm absolutely going to be going with Essentials 2012, and I'll be writing a lot about it because there are some interesting compromises in there as well that people need to be aware of, and it's obviously not a home product. And so it puts me in the kind of weird position where I think people who listen to this podcast or people who read my site probably going to be comfortable with this. But there are a couple of caveats to this. I think for most normal people that Windows 8 is a perfectly acceptable product to get for this type of thing, where you have like one big PC with a bunch of storage in it, you put all your content in there, and then you share it out to all of the PCs and devices in your home, including your tablets, your portable devices, and your Xbox 360. And so that stuff will all work great in Windows 8. But I've just had such a long running experience with Windows Server and have always had various forms of Windows Server in my home. Before there was a home server product, I would just run the standard version of Windows Server. I used the previous 2 versions of Home Server, and then I was using the previous version of Essentials as well. And so I happen to be really comfortable with it. But obviously, it's a lot more expensive. It's about $435 at retail, which is expensive, compared to Windows 8, which you can get for as little as $15 or.
Is that just software? Did you get
$40.
hardware with it or something? Or?
No, that's just software. So
yikes.
Yeah, I was looking into this. I have an HP microserver that I love. It's kind of the spiritual successor of those excellent HP home servers, where it has 4 drive bays, a really small form factor, just a nice little package. And that machine is, I think it's $300 or $400 just to buy it without an OS, but you can get it for about $800 with the preceding version of Essentials, which I wouldn't get now. I'd wait till Essentials 2012. So, it's a server. You're buying a server. It's a starter server, but it's a server. And I think it's roughly comparable to what Home Server was for the day. I mean, as far as features and functionality and so forth. But it's not an inconsiderable purchase. So I know that for some people, that's going to be a bit much, and that just a normal tower PC running Windows 8 or whatever is probably going to be just fine. But I am going the Essentials route. I just there's certain advantages to server that I think put it over the top.
And they're selling it that way. They're really selling it as the home server solution.
Yeah, I mean, if you use Home Server today, for example, one of the things you can do is centralize all of your PC backups to the server, and Essentials has that, whereas Windows 8 does not. And so there's a lot of ability to centralize things. It automatically does the file history stuff for Windows 8 out to all of the clients. It puts it on the server rather than having it being on a hard drive that's attached to the PC. It's just nice. And so there's just a bunch of stuff that, for me especially, puts it over the top, and I think for a lot of other people as well. You just have to get over the cost differential and the complexity too, because it is it's an Active Directory domain, which is not not a home feature. So I'll be writing about how to overcome some of that stuff in the weeks ahead. But I just wanted people to know that that's where I'm going.
Software pick of the week.
This is a cool one. There's a guy at Microsoft, Martin McLean, who makes these incredible posters. And so, are you running Windows 8 right now, Leo?
I am not, unfortunately.
Okay, so if you're running Windows 8, what you can do is you can go to the Windows Store and search for Pedia, all one word. And what this is a new Metro-style app that has all of the posters that they've made for Microsoft so far. So they're these awesome, giant, intricate architectural diagrams that people love. I mean, we have bundled them in our magazine from time to time, and people hang them on the walls and everything. It's just so beautiful. So there's kind of an app version of it, which you're looking at now. But click on one of the topics.
This is just an image.
Oh, it's just an image.
Yeah,
okay,
unfortunately, I don't have the.
Yeah, so
here's the SQL Database Federation.
Yeah, it's
poster.
not a good. It's only part. Okay, yeah,
it's got a lot of information though.
Most of them are far more intricate than this. Okay. But you can also.
So these aren't sales posters. These are informational posters.
These are like tech posters. These are for
manuals.
geeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Really, really neat. So there's an app version now, Windows 8 app, and you can print these things. And so if you want to print these out and still hang them up on your wall, you can. And you get access to all the ones he's doing. And I assume there'll be new ones in the future as we move forward too. So Martin's a great guy, and these posters are awesome, and they're just such a huge hit with the IT crowd.
And it's free, so pick up Posterpedia.
Yep.
Choose a poster for your technology, and then you can you print them?
Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Really cool. Neat. What's new in Hyper-V? Hey, speaking of Hyper-V, Mary Jo Foley, what's your enterprise pick of the week?
It's not a Hyper-V thing, but it's something that admins will like. Not even Hadoop. It's RSAT.
Ooh.
Remote Server Administration Tools. So RSAT tools for Windows 8. A lot of people were wondering where they were. After Windows 8 RTM'd, people were like, where are these things? Because they're really useful to IT admins who want to manage roles and features that are on computers that already are running Windows Server 2012. But they can run and access this remotely from a PC running Windows 8. So these are things like Server Manager and the Microsoft Management Console that you can manage, PowerShell commandlets, all these kinds of like IT lovable things. And now you can go download RSAT tools as of September 13th. They're free, and they're available on the Microsoft Download Center. You can go grab them now, finally.
And I bet you're the first person ever called RSAT lovable.
Lovable RSAT. Maybe Padre might too.
Maybe Robert Balliser. Yeah, he's lovable. You're lovable. The tools, maybe. And your code name pick of the week.
Codename Pick of the Week was in honor of Mark Russinovich, who came on our show today. And he even mentioned it when we were talking about Azure. It's Antares. And that was codename for Azure. Let me see. This is hard to remember.
Is it an acronym?
Azure Web Services. No, it was a codename for Azure Web Services, which is the hosting framework that's available in the cloud and also on Windows Server.
It would have been such a good acronym. Azure New Technology Application Reservation Enterprise Services.
Yeah. See? You just made one up. It's kind of like WAD.
Yeah. That's called a retronym, when you take the word and you go backwards trying to make it into something.
So the reason I made Antares the codename pick of the week again was this week Microsoft released a bunch of updates to the Antares preview that's already out on Azure. And a few of these things are things, it's funny, I wrote about them on my blog this week, and people got really excited about naked domain names. Woo!
Not as exciting as it sounds, kids.
Not as exciting as it sounds, but still, they were excited about it. So among the new Azure website, Azure Websites updates, shared mode scaling option, support for custom domains with shared and reserved mode websites using CNAME and A records. And it's the A records one that enables naked domains. So naked domains means like if you have HTTP, Microsoft.com, it also supports it also supports, I'm confusing this now, but
if you don't understand it, I sure as hell don't.
No, I don't understand it. And I wrote it, which is even worse. But anyways, okay, it supports naked domains. Just go with me.
That's all we need to know.
And continuous deployment support on Codeplex and GitHub as well. So people who are using Azure websites, some of these things were things they had been missing that they really wanted, and they said this was kind of holding them back from trying this out on Azure. So now these capabilities are immediately available as of this week, and you can access them if you have an Azure account. So there you have it.
There you have it. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There you have Mary Jo Foley. You can get more of her every day, all the time, every hour of every day at allaboutmicrosoft.com. That's where she hangs her hat and her typewriter. When did you stop using a typewriter?
Oh, boy, when did I? Probably in 1983.
Trying to remember what the last... we kept one for a long time because of envelopes.
Yep.
Because it was so hard to print in an envelope. I remember, the reason I ask is because I was talking to my kids and I was saying, in college, I used a typewriter to write my papers. And I was thinking, God, that's painful.
Isn't that crazy? When I was in journalism school then, and when we were doing, journalism classes, we had to type on manual typewriters. That's how we filed our stories. I'm kidding.
Wow.
I'm dating myself.
I didn't think you were that old, actually.
Yes, I am.
Wow. I thought you would have said in 7th grade or something.
No. I should have said that, but I did not.
Why, Leo, I don't know what you mean. Typewriter, what is that of which you speak? Typewriter? Paul Thurrott is the editor-in-chief of the SuperSite for Windows, winsupersite.com. His new book is out, I'm happy to say, Windows 8 Secrets. You can get it on Amazon right now. Do what you never thought possible with Windows 8 and RT.
Why not?
You just threw that in, didn't you?
Yeah.
Why not? It could be any kind of Windows. So this is great. I'm thrilled. I'm going to borrow it from Alex. Alex brought it in, and he brought in this great T-shirt. I visited Microsoft, and all I got was this shirt, thanks to Lou
Macahaney.
Maresca.
Wow.
Lou, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Are you, though?
Yes. Yes. And the Windows Phone 8 book in progress?
Working on it now. Yeah, I've written most of the first chapter.
All right.
It's at windowsphonebook.com.
That's right. This one's online.
Yep.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Mary Jo. Thank you for watching. And thanks to Mark Russinovich for joining us. It was great to have him as well. You can watch us do this show 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursdays. That's 1800 UTC on twit.tv, where everything we do is live and in person.
Whether you want it that way or not.
Really. All the mistakes. Everything. Then we edit them out. We make a nice, clean version of the show for the on-demand crowd, an audio and video at twit.tv/WW for Windows Weekly. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. And I'll see you in New York City, October 25th.
Cool.
Windows Weekly. All right. I don't know if this is going to be any better. You guys both...
Our production network is oversaturated. Someone is hogging it.
All right.
So
who's using
We're
BitTorrent?
investigating right now.
Who's using BitTorrent? Turn off BitTorrent. Really? Our production network is saturated.
That's what Russell says. He's investigating and trying to find the culprit.
Do you think it could be me playing a game? No. So Russell's here. Our IT guy is here. He is going to investigate. If he were you, I wish there was some sort of software he could use that he could just like look at the network and see proactively what's going on.
Someone should invent that. And then you should buy it. Or download it for free.
It's us. It must be us because both of you are getting a little grainy.
It tells me that my connection call quality is not good.
Yeah, but I think that's us. I got to stop playing Diablo 3 right now. Who could have saturated our network? Is it you know what? It's that new restaurant next door. Damn them. I knew when they said free Wi-Fi, they weren't going to pay for it.
The Apple fans are trying to stop us from getting out the truth.
I'm really interested in this phone, and I want to. But hold on, I don't want to go back to it unless we can. How many of you are updating iOS 6 to ups? I bet that's it. Anybody updating to iOS 6?
Is it the round table?
It could be because we're at the round table. You know, it's just been a bad day all around. It's a bad day for Skype. I picked a bad day to stop using downers.
Russell says the flow is decreasing.
The flow is stymied.
The flow?
What should we do about the flow?
Like in a sewer? What are we talking? It's like the problem I had when my toilet backed up?
Exactly. We've got a backed up Wi-Fi.
So whatever someone was doing is done now. So let me recall them again.
Well, they should train and get better automatically. I guess if you want to read
Actually,
it.
now I'm
theory.
yellow.
Yeah, look, he's better. He sounds better.
I feel better.
He feels better. He's still a little grainy, but that should fix.
He's frozen now.
Oh, all right. Call him back.
Okay. We'll do a quick recall.
Don't kill me, Alex.
Do you remember? It seems like it's better. Your audio is much better. Mary Jo is no longer pixelated. I think whatever. So what do you think, Russell? Is there something that we're doing, or is it just bad luck? Or oh, 15 megabits to a mail server. It was probably me. Well, you know, I don't use these computers that often. Let me close the mail. Yeah, it could well have been me. What kind of mail server can pull 15
how
megabits?
How could you possibly be destroying your connection from a laptop?
Oh, easy. Somebody was getting mail, and it pulled 15 megabits. Wow. For some reason, mail seems to, my iMap seems to re-download 20,000 messages every once in a while. Anyway, let's start over.